Hey, what up, Internet? Welcome to my, I guess, technically first deck tech. We're going to do. It's technically Jeskai, but it's really just a Boros deck splashing blue because I wanted to play with Warden of the Eye. So, let's see what this thing's all about. Alright, we'll just do a quick run through of all the cards first. If you're going to play Warden of the Eye, you might as well play 4 Cloudshifts. We have a Miser's Reprisal since we have 3 Warden of the Eyes. That's to get rid of big stuff. 4 Raise the Alarms. Brimaz. 2 Mentor of the Meeks. 2 Captain of the Watch. 2 Vapor Snags. 1 Peel from Reality. 1 Banefire. 2 Shocks. 3 Young Pyromancers. 2 Goblin Rabblemasters. 1 Active Treason. Both Battledrivers. Inferno Titan. A Singleton Warstorm Surge. 3 Warden of the Eyes, which is the whole reason I even made this deck. And if you're going to be playing Boros, I think you should always be playing this guy. 3 Truefire Paladins. Okay, so let's just go into the Wise. Cloudshift, obviously you can combo off with the Warden of the Eye, just like you could do in Azorious with the Archaeomancers. So you just keep blinking Warden of the Eye, and if you have a Warstorm Surge out, then that's 3 damage to a creature or player every single shift. Or if you have a Young Pyromancer out, that's a dude every single shift. And unfortunately, because the Warden has 3 power, he does not combo off with the Mentor of the Meek to draw cards unless you have the Pyromancer in play. So usually about 75-80% of the time, your Cloud Shifts are just going to be negates for targeted removal. But it's still pretty good since most of your threats are pretty much, they have to be removed in a fairly timely manner if your opponent doesn't want to die. 1 Reprisal, so we just don't randomly die to some huge dude if we get stalled out or whatever. You only need to run 1, because like I said, you have 3 Wardens, so you can get it back if you need it, if you use it. 4 Raise the Alarms, because we do need 2 drops. Puts 2 White Soldiers into play, obviously. A double trigger off Mentor of the Meek. They are soldiers, so they do get buffed by Captain of the Watch. It is an instant for Young Pyromancer. It turns into 6 hasty power with Ogre Battledriver. And a shock if you have Warstorm Surge out. Plus, it's also something you can get back with Warden of the Eye later in the game. So that's why that's in. Brimaz, because he can just take over a game by himself. Like I said, most of the actual creature permanents in this deck, actually pretty much every permanent in this deck, with the exception of the Warden, pretty much needs to be removed in a timely manner, or you're just going to bury them in card advantage, or you're just going to kill them. Anyways, Brimaz makes tokens, which triggers Mentor, tokens which can be hasted with the Battledriver, tokens that are soldiers for Captain of the Watch. Brimaz himself is a soldier, and yeah, and you know, make dudes for Warstorm Surge. So there's that. Mentor of the Meek. Draw cards off the tokens made by Brimaz, or Raise the Alarm, or just hardcasting the second Mentor of the Meek, or hardcasting Young Pyromancers, drawing cards with the tokens it makes, drawing cards off hardcasting a Goblin Rabblemaster, or the tokens it makes, and actually drawing card off Truefire Paladin, as long as you don't buff it. No, the trigger will still go on the stacks, even if for whatever reason you need to buff it before the Mentor trigger goes off, it'll still resolve. So there's your card advantage engine there. So as you can see, even though I'm playing blue, I'm not running Think Twice, which I'll get into later. And also happens to be a soldier for Captain of the Watch. Captain of the Watch, pretty much 9 power and 9 toughness for 1 card, as long as the Captain himself lives. Bust all the other soldiers in the deck. A wonderful Cloudshift target pretty much 9 damage with the Warstorm Surge. Battledriver, that's, what is it? 9 plus 8, 17 hasty damage. So yeah, that's one of our top ends. Now for the blue cards, there's actually only 6 blue cards in the deck. So like I said, it's a light blue splash. We have 2 Vapor Snags, another instant or sorcery for Pyromancer, and also as a concession to the Aura decks, because Aura decks, if you don't have a shock or enough lands for a Banefire, you can't race them. They'll beat you before you beat them. So that's a little concession to that. 1 Peel from Reality. I don't like to have a whole lot of those, but I think 1 is okay. You can also do the tricky little, peel Warden in the Eye and bounce one of their guys, and then replay Warden in the Eye, getting Peel from Reality back. That's 7 mana. That usually doesn't come up too much, but sometimes you need to do that. And it also acts as a sort of negate. So if they target something of yours or try and kill it, you can save it and then bounce one of their guys as well. I mean, it's kind of mana inefficient and you still have to replay your guy, but I guess it's better than losing it, right? So 1 of Banefire, like I said, you can pop it early because you have 3 Wardens, or it can just end the game on its own if stuff gets stalled out. 2 Shocks, like I said, you want to have some early interaction. You don't want to die to an opposing Rabblemaster or Pyromancer or whatnot. And again, triggers Pyromancer can be got back later with Wardens and whatnot. Young Pyromancer, I mean, every time he casts instant or sorcery, he makes a dude. So let's count all the instant or sorceries. 4, 5, 9, 11, 12, 13, 15, 16. So yeah, 16. That should be enough for 3 young Pyromancers. And as stated before, his tokens have synergy with Mentor, but really not much else. But you can do a nice little trick. You can play a Battledriver if you have a Pyromancer already out, and blink the Pyromancer, so it'll come back in, get haste, get +2. So it'll be a 4/1 plus a token that comes back. That'll be a 3/1. So a nice little synergy there, I guess, if it comes up. 2 Goblin Rabblemasters. After testing all this deck, he's actually the least threatening creature in the deck, besides, just raise the alarm tokens. Because, he could be easily stonewalled, but I think it'd be pretty stupid not to include him, because he does have synergy with a lot of the other stuff in the deck. And unanswered, like on a relatively empty board, he will just kill them very quickly. 1 single act of Treason, which, if you're going to be playing Cloudshift and you're going to be playing red, you should have at least 1. What you do, you act a Treason their guy, swing with it, then blink it with Cloudshift, and then it comes back under your control. You're spending 2 cards for, theoretically, whatever amount of damage that creature will do, plus getting that creature. So it's like an inefficient mind control. So that's why I really only like to top out at 1. Ogre Battledriver, again, another must-remove threat. One of the few creatures does not trigger the Mentor, which is kind of a bummer. But, with all the token producers, I mean, just giving anything haste, giving an Inferno Titan haste, even, giving a Warden in the Eye haste, I mean, that's 5 damage right there. I mean, 4 plus whatever other mana open you have for Truefire Paladin. Basically just another must-remove threat. Inferno Titan, I mean, I guess, I don't know, maybe half the meta. You resolve an Inferno Titan and it just lives for 1 turn, you win. And also a nice little tricky Cloudshift target. I mean, if you Inferno Titan on 7 mana and have a Cloudshift and the mana to blink it, I mean, that's 6 damage. Fired anywhere you want. So, another theoretically good way to get rid of a Baneslayer, which can be a problem for this deck. We have the 1 of Warstorm Surge, which is, I guess, this deck's version of the Sphinxbone Wand. I mean, if you have a good enough board or a stalled enough board where you're not dying, but you're not killing them either, this will make sure you do kill them. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, deals damage equal to its power to target creature or player. So, unfortunately, with the Ogre Battledriver, the Warstorm Surge trigger always resolves first. and then it gets buffed by the Battledriver, which is stupid, but, you know, thanks Stainless and his hardworking Brits on the Isle of Wight, or whatever that studio is, but, you know, it's a good finisher. I mean, you know, just casting Inferno Titan, that's 9 damage. You cast a Truefire Paladin, you can actually, before the Surge trigger resolves, you can start buffing the Truefire Paladin. And then the Truefire Paladin buff triggers will resolve first, so let's say you cast this and buff it all the way up to a 6/2, then it'll do 6 damage to the Warstorm Surge. It's like a weird poor man's Banefire almost. But you get to keep permanent in play. And also with Warstorm Surge, you have the Wombo combo with Warden of the Eye. You get Warden of the Eye in play, get back Cloudshift, or cast a Cloudshift you already have in hand. So that's 3 damage every time it blinks, which can either wipe a board or just go straight to the dome and end the game fairly quickly. But because it doesn't really hardly ever impact the board when it comes into play, especially because of the Battledriver trigger. So like you play Warstorm Surge and, you know, a Rabblemaster token triggers, you're only going to do 1 damage and not 3 because, again, Stainless. Thanks, guys. And you have the Warden of the Eye. I guess the whole reason I even built this deck, I just wanted to play with it. Run the max 3 copies. It's basically just a beefier Archaeomancer. But, you know, you get back all the 16 instant sorceries in your deck. So it's a nice little value town. Plus, you know, the aforementioned Cloudshift blinking and whatnot, Fog a Blocker, play Peel from Reality, and lock out 1 creature every turn. This deck, that's very rarely going to come up, and if you do need to do that, then you're in a world of shit anyways. And then finally, Truefire Paladin. Like I stated earlier, if you're going to play Boros Colors, I think it's a mistake not to play this guy, because he's just such a house. Like, he just gets, like, nothing can block it. Like, unless, like, I don't know, you're playing Giant Scorpions, so you'd have to sink 4 mana into it to get through a Giant Scorpion. But pretty much anything else, you know, you just give it first strike, like most 2 and 3 drops, you just give it first strike and it'll eat it up. Or if they just won't block it, then you just either buff it or play something else. Very threatening, win the game on its own. And so that's kind of like the theme of this deck. You want everything, I mean, like any deck, to be high impact. And everything has a lot of synergy with each other. We go with the lands, 24 lands. I don't run any basic islands. All my islands are going to come in off tap lands, and I really only want 25% of my lands to come in tapped. So just looking at you'll see we have 20 white mana symbols, 19 red mana symbols, but I actually have 1 more red source than white source, because most of our creature permanents are red, and a lot of the whites are just like these 5 things. Spells, 4 Cloudshifts. Cloudshifts aren't going to do anything unless you have an actual creature in play. So it's possible I might even want to bump up another mountain, but right now we have 14 red sources, and if I can do math, 13 white sources, and 6 blue sources for 6 blue cards. And the reason I don't want any basic islands and just have all my blue coming on the tap lands, because you really don't need blue right away, and also not having a basic island in the deck will not interfere with this dude. I did have 1 basic island in the deck, and it did come up to where, you know, basically one of my mana sources was useless for this guy because it was an island, which you can't use. So that's pretty much the deck. I mean, you could say, like, Boros tokens itself is probably better. Probably is. I don't know. Like I said, I wanted to build a deck with Warden of the Eye, and so I did. Things I left out, I originally had a bunch of Think Twices in. I mean, they are double trigger for the Pyromancer, but if what you're doing is Think Twicing, you're not really doing much. Like, you just kept a shitty hand, or you had a shitty draw. Like, if you're having to think twice, then you're not advancing your board. And obviously, you don't want to overextend into something like an Anger of the Gods. But usually you only need like 1 or 2 permanents, like Mentor of the Meek in play. And then they have to be answered, and you don't really have to play anything else. Yeah, it was just way too clunky, too slow. Like I said, I replaced it with the 2 Vapor Snags, which gets rid of the Aura decks, or helps a lot against the Aura decks. It just pushes through damage at the end. And the 1 Peel from Reality, again, the combo negate, unsummon, lock them out with Warden in the Eye if you ever get that high. And I don't remember what the fourth, oh, the Act of Treason. Like, I'm not the biggest, this like card is like just so bad without a Cloudshift, but you know, like I said, if you're playing Cloudshift, you probably should at least play one, surprise your opponent. And other notable omissions, you're like, oh, where the fuck's Talorand? He makes dudes. He has combos with Cloudshift and Mentor the Meek. I just didn't want to play double blue, to be perfectly honest with you. Like, I figure, and he's a 4-drop. And really, I mean, what are you gonna cut for it? You're gonna get rid of some spells, which makes it worse. Or you're gonna get rid of some permanents. Like, you're gonna cut a Brimaz for a Talorand and just make the mana like really fucked up and bad. Like, no, I don't agree with that. I mean, you could try it out. As you'll see with most of my builds, especially when I'm playing and making videos further on, nothing's set in stone. But this is where I'm at with it right now. I just wanted to share it with you guys before I start recording some gameplay videos. Hopefully the internal microphone on this MacBook doesn't make my voice sound too garbled. But that's pretty much it. I'll be recording some videos here very shortly. Thanks for tuning in, listening, or whatever. Goodbye.